Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. Very busy week in the state capitol. Legislative session coming to its apex, and we are joined by senators that center of, seems like all of it. Senator Tracy McCreery, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How's everything in St. Louis County?
Things are good in St. Louis County. We're chugging away, and St. Louis County is the economic engine of the entire state. So my philosophy is just to stay out of their way and let them keep doing what they're doing.
It feels like, while you're in the county, and the county is more people and things, there's still, everything ties into the city of St. Louis. It is an interesting time. The new mayor got sworn in. She said it was a new chapter for the city. Now, I don't know what that chapter looks like, but I kind of feel that way too. It feels like there is a new chapter in the city of St. Louis.
Well, the voters in St. Louis certainly indicated they were ready for some change because we now have a new mayor, Mayor Keri Spencer, but also we have a new comptroller in Donna Behringer, former state representative. So the voters made it clear that they wanted some change, and I wish both of those women well.
Well, I'll tell you, there will be no grass grows under Donna Behringer's feet. She is an absolute determined. The folks will get their 40 hours in St. Louis out of Donna Behringer.
And then some.
Let's talk about a bill that you've spoke on many times. It feels like we spend about, in the legislature, they spend about a fourth of the time on the city of St. Louis and about a third of the time on abortion. There was a proposal that moved through the House this week that would put essentially a way to repeal Amendment 3. It would have a couple exceptions, I think, is kind of where they worked it out. But it would have, as you called it, ballot candy. Tell me in the Senate, if the Republicans were to come and say, we want to put the old law on the ballot with no ballot candy, I would say you probably just let them do it, right? Because they probably couldn't pass it.
Because the outcome would be the same. In November of 2024, voters overwhelmingly said they wanted to end Missouri's total abortion ban and restore reproductive rights and put it into the Constitution. And remember, last November, Republicans overwhelmingly won all of the statewide offices. So in order for Amendment 3 to have passed, it took not just Democrat voters, but Republicans and independents as well. So, I think that it's really important for my colleagues in the Senate to listen to their constituents and respect the will of the people. I think that people are really tired of the government and politicians getting involved in their personal lives, including their personal reproductive health care choices.
If I was, you're one of the leading, probably one of the most articulate people that advocate for the pro-choice argument. I do think, if I were you, I'd be a little worried that the Republicans are coming back with some exceptions. They're trying to be more reasonable and find that center ground. To me, I always feel like the old law was too far where folks were. I'm not sure this law is not a little too far the other way.
Well, Missouri voters are smart and they're educated. I'm sure they took the time to look at
I hate it when they say the voters are dumb.
I do too, because these are the same voters that elect us.
Exactly.
So you can't have it.
It's like, so you were really intelligent in your vote for state representative, but you were really stupid down here at the bottom. I think the voters of this state did not read of course not. I think they knew they were giving greater access to abortion. I don't think they were fooled by anything else. I think that's what they voted for. I also think, though, if they put something more moderate on the ballot that's got a better chance of passing, I assume that's probably more worrisome for you than if they continue on the extremes.
Well, I'm a glass half full person. I think that the fact that Republican politicians are looking for exceptions for survivors of rape and incest and for pregnant women that are facing medical emergencies, that kind of thing, I think that is a win for those of us that care about women's health, because that is the Republican Party acknowledging that they've gone too far. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it just means that we're starting to listen to our constituents more closely.
Explain to folks what ballot candy is.
Ballot candy is just something that often appears first thing on a ballot in the ballot summary to try to maybe deceive people a little bit into voting yes or no on something. And it doesn't actually have anything to do with what the politicians writing the language are trying to do.
You mean like Clean Missouri?
Well, possibly.
Well, I think, though, the Supreme Court decided when they said the Clean Missouri case that you could take gerrymandering and you could take ethics I think to most folks, if we lean on a fence post, would say different things, and put them together. So now both sides are doing it, and the ballot candy, I assume, will be part of this final product, will be something with trans, which is highly unpopular in this state. I assume they'll try to bring trans in with abortion and maybe mix the two and use ballot candy.
They might do that, but I think that is a harmful thing to do to a minority of a minority in the state of Missouri. I care about everybody, and I hate to see a group of very marginalized people being used as a political tool. And so I'm very uncomfortable with that.
But
Um,
that's happened how many times? I mean,
Well,
it was one time it was African Americans, and it was gay people. Now trans. I mean, these trends are not new, right? Using a group that may not have a lot of political power, may not be that popular to maneuver things around. Would you support a law that says these ballot initiatives have to be single subject?
I'd be fine with that.
I think you could have won the abortion thing. I don't even think there was ballot candy in Amendment 3, really.
There wasn't.
I mean, I think that if it's an issue that's popular enough to pass, it can stand on its own.
Right. Yeah, I would be fine with that. And, back in the day, the General Assembly used to keep bills to single subject, even in the legislative branch.
Mike Moon tries as much as he can, but it
yeah.
just doesn't happen.
I hear that lecture about once a week, and, I understand where he does. He really does.
Let's talk about something you've worked on a great deal. It's kind of a legacy issue now, childcare. It is a business issue. If you talk to people in business, they need employees. And one of the biggest burdens to getting good employees is what do you do with the kids?
Right. Exactly. I mean, a child care advocacy group called Child Care Aware estimates that we need an additional 19,000 child care slots in order to get kids and young people that need daycare into quality, affordable care. And you're absolutely right. Child care is a business issue, and it's an issue that directly impacts our economy. So parents are in a big dilemma right now in the state of Missouri. They're looking for an affordable slot for their child, but it also has to be quality and it has to be safe. And so that's what we're trying to do in the legislature, is try to hit that sweet spot where we can give parents the assurance that their kids will be safe and get them ready to school, ready to learn, but also that it has to be affordable. And I think that businesses of all sizes would love to see the legislature act.
It is an evolution of the business lobby in this state, from just cut taxes to, okay, cut taxes, but there's some other practical things the state government could do to help the business community succeed. It has been an evolution the last few years of what they're asking for from you.
It has. And, this issue about child care access and affordability is truly bipartisan. And it's enjoyable to have something like that we can work on. On Tuesday in a Senate committee, it was only because of 2 Democratic votes, myself and Senator Patty Lewis, that child care tax credit package was able to move out of committee. So it's truly, the Senate Democrats are definitely relevant when it comes to this debate.
Well, I mean, when you're in the Senate, everything has to ultimately you have to at least agree to let it come to a vote, and you have a chance to negotiate almost everything. Prop A was a measure to raise the minimum wage, and it had some other things in there. To me, that's the interesting part. Do I think trans issues and abortion should be in the same ballot measure? No, I don't think a lot. But when you get into the minimum wage and some of the benefits associated with work, boy, that's a gray area. I think you could make an argument, maybe those things belong on one ballot question, but the legislature is trying to carve out, right, some of the things that passed in Prop A, some of the sick time benefits and things, correct?
Right. Well, the Senate Democrats, we are very proud to stand with working families. Proposition A passed overwhelmingly in November of 2024. I think about 57% of Missourians voted for it. Prop A, it ties into our discussion about child care, quite honestly. So I used to be a manager. The most expensive thing I ever did was recruit people, train people, and then try to figure out how the heck to retain them. And I truly believe that if we raise the minimum wage gradually and allow these hourly workers to gradually earn some paid sick time, it's not a giveaway. They earn it by putting in work, and then they earn some time. I think that will increase the economic output of these workers. It should make businesses
Forced to take time off, whether it's in their pay package or not.
Right, right. I think the dilemma that I have with this is there are so many workers who interface with the public that are being forced to go to work because they can't afford to miss a paycheck. And I don't know about you, but when I'm talking to the person at the dry cleaners or at a restaurant or a fast food joint, if they are sick and have something that's contagious, I do not want them there. But I also don't want them to miss out on being able to pay their rent or their electric bill. So we've got to do something that allow Missouri workers to help make ends meet.
So let's talk about schools. The governor announced the foundation formula is gone. The House cut the foundation formula a huge amount. The Senate's putting some of that money back in, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And, public education is the foundation of everything we do here in the state of Missouri. And I truly believe there will be a bipartisan effort in the state Senate to make sure that we're doing everything we can to adequately fund public education. A lot of schools around Missouri are very dependent on the state of Missouri to help fund their schools. And, I'm fortunate. I represent a district in St. Louis County where almost all of our schools are funded by local taxes. So this is not a dog that I have in the fight for my constituents necessarily, but the Senate Democrats care about all Missouri children, even Missouri children we don't represent.
But you can see where this ship is headed. I mean,
yeah.
there is I really do think the issue of school choice is probably here. I think Governor Kehoe has said he wants this blue ribbon, whatever that is, to come in next year. So when you get reelected, I would assume the first thing you get is an enormous school choice bill. To me, Mike Kehoe can put about what he wants in there. Mike Kehoe's a winner. Can you really, a year and a half from now, turn back Mike Kehoe if this is what his top priority is?
Well, I'm open to having discussions with anybody. The challenge for the district that I represent is that we mainly fund our schools through local sales taxes or local taxes. So if students are transferring from one district to another and they're just bringing their state funding with them, we, like Ladue School District, Parkway School District, Kirkwood School District, they spend more than double of what the state deems adequate. And I think we have to have an honest discussion about who pays and who closes that gap.
It does feel like when this commission gets their report done, it feels like education will be different 2 years from now than it is today.
Well, there's always room for an improvement, but I think we need to be respectful of Missouri parents and students, educators, everybody, and try to figure out something. There are schools in the state of Missouri that are top notch, not just in the state of Missouri, but in the country. And we need to make sure that we're not doing anything to harm those school districts that are really, just knocking it out of the park.
You were part of probably one of the top one or two most significant pieces of legislation that passed this session, when it was about generating power. The state, the energy needs of this state are going to grow, and we can't meet them right now. You held the line for consumers. You got the circuit breaker tax credit. And you and Senator Searpoint, it felt like it started off with two people with different ideas, but it felt like it was a very respectful negotiation. And folks on both sides of the issue say the bill was better when you two finally got done with your negotiations.
Well, I enjoyed working with Senator Searpoint on that bill. It's a bill that's going to ultimately increase the utility bills that families are paying every month. But, the bill was going to pass, and I appreciate that Senator Searpoint understood how passionate I was about making sure we do some things to help low-income Missourians and senior citizens in the state. So we did get some good consumer protections in Senate Bill 4.
It is kind of a fun thing to watch you go from the House to the Senate. In the House, you can speak on these things. In the Senate, you come into the negotiating table. And I would say even the pro-utility folks felt like the bill was better that ultimately passed after you were a part of it.
Right. Well, these are folks that work and represent monopolies, but they're not monsters. They truly do care about.
Well, you're going to have to generate some power.
Right.
I mean, however you go about it,
yeah.
Somebody's going to have to pay for new power plants. And, you've come up with this way that's going to go forward, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's the truth for every part of the session. Right? We'll see what happens. Well, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. Hope you'll come back after session and maybe talk about how everything ended up here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
Happy to do that. Thanks, Scott.
We'll be right back. Superman's going to join us. Brian Seitz after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Missouri's childcare crisis is hurting our children, families, and even our economy. Currently, 78 Missouri counties are designated as childcare deserts, where the number of kids needing childcare exceeds the number of available options. Today, some Missouri families are spending more on childcare than housing, and Missouri's childcare shortage costs our economy $1.35 billion every year. Missouri families and businesses deserve better. Learn more at mochampionofchildren.com.
Some politicians claim cockfighting is a proud tradition, but is it really something to be proud of? Cockfighting isn't just cruel to animals, it's cruel to humans. It's linked to organized criminal activity, illegal gambling, even drug trafficking. Leading law enforcement and Christian groups have spoken out and are urging a stop to the violence. But some politicians want to give cockfighters a pass. Keep cockfighting out of our state.
Data captured by our state-of-the-art monitors helps us pinpoint the timing and location of severe weather more accurately and respond to trouble more quickly. Ameren, Missouri's investment in smart technologies like this is one way we're improving reliability and restoring power faster than ever. Responding to trouble before trouble hits. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back. This week in Missouri Politics, Easter Sunday Opinion Maker panel. We are joined by South City's own Representative Nick Kimble. Thank you so much for making the time.
Hey, appreciate you having me back.
Keri, Ingle, Senate candidate. It's kind of cool. You're going to be like one of the top races in the entire state, right?
It's very exciting.
Kickoff is when?
May 1st at 6:30 at Pearl Tavern in Lee Summit.
Pearl Tavern. I've been to many taverns, Lisa. I've been to that one. We have Ken Waller, Jeff Coe's own. Thank you so much, sir.
Appreciate you having me.
And Brian Seitz, Superman himself. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Good to be back.
You're at the center of everything this week in the House. You put forward the much anticipated, long-awaited Republican answer to Amendment 3.
Right.
You have an HJR that would go to the ballot
right.
For the voters to get to make their own decisions.
Sure.
What is in the HJR?
Yeah, I think HJR 73 will represent the will of the voters, and that's why we're actually placing it on the ballot, so they can make an informed decision about what type of culture of life that they would like to have in the state of Missouri. HJR 73 protects women, protects children, protects babies. Some of what Amendment 3 wiped out, especially the safety standards for women, need to be put back in place. This legislation does allow for the exceptions of rape and incest, and I think that's what many voters who voted for Amendment 3 were thinking when they went into the ballot box.
And we're going a long time. You're pro-life as anybody in this state.
Absolutely.
I think it's also fair to say, I think the voters of this state were not where the old law was. I think might have been a little more pro-life than they were.
It's quite possible. I do believe that life begins at conception, but we're presenting through HJR 73 what the voters wanted to see done when they stepped in to vote for Amendment 3. We're allowing this to go to the voters. The voters will decide what type of state would they like to be. Do they want to be a state that represents a culture of life or the alternative?
Representative Ingle, you are one of the most articulate people on the pro-choice side to make this argument. I heard the arguments of the folks who have already voted on this, and I kind of agree with you. I don't think folks were dumb when they voted to have greater access to abortion. No one reads all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I think they voted for that.
Absolutely, they did. And I think it's interesting that the other side says that they are representing what the voters wanted when the voters have already told us what they wanted. I think that this bill is incredibly restrictive. It eliminates all access to abortion outside of for survivors of rape and incest, and only up to 12 weeks. When we know that most survivors of rape and incest don't normally disclose that quickly. And so this is really, really restrictive. It spits in the face of the Missouri voters and all of those who worked so hard to have their voices heard. This is not a partisan issue. In fact,
Kind of a partisan issue.
Well, you could say that if you discounted the amount of Republicans who voted in favor of Amendment 3, who, yes, in Senate District 8, where I live, it passed by over 58%.
So let me ask you this. I do think folks were not where the old law was.
Right.
It was a little further than they wanted to go.
Absolutely.
This law, in my gut, says maybe it's a little further out. Is there something you could do to tweak Amendment 3 that would tighten access, but still allow folks an honest ability to go have an abortion if they wanted to?
Yes, I think that in a and if everyone was being honest brokers at the table and coming together and putting language before the people that reflected perhaps the existence of Roe, where it was up to viability, that it was safe, rare, and legal. I think that's what polls the highest.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what
the old Bill Clinton quote. So if you're going to,
Absolutely.
and to be clear, Jeff Rowe does still exist.
I think what we're missing is the third person, and that's not been involved in the debate, the infant in the womb. Is the infant in the womb being given a choice, or should they be guaranteed life, liberty, and be allowed to pursue happiness? I think that's the person that's missing in this dialogue, and we'll continue to speak for them.
Kenny, let me ask you this. You went and got votes from Democrats as a Republican.
Sure.
Back when Jeff Coe was still a very purple county, you went and had to go get folks who were lifelong Democrats to vote for you. Can you take what's in this HJR and sell it to folks in maybe South County, maybe places like Lee Summit, where Amendment 3 was very popular? Can you take this HJR? Does it give enough exceptions? Does it give enough leeway to be able to sell this to folks that voted for Amendment 3?
If you're talking about Jefferson County, I think you can, but you just don't know. I mean, it goes with the voters. And as Representative Ingle said, there's a lot of places that voted for it, for the first one, and they may vote for it again. I'm not sold 100%. I know I like the bill. I'm just not sold that it's going to pass. And that bottom line,
much easier to get than a yes.
Yes. So I think it could be done. And the thing I look at it, I'm glad Representative Seitz said this. I come from a perspective of the child, and I usually don't tell this story, and I'll make it quick. I was a product of an unwed. My mom got pregnant and raised me for 3 years before she got remarried. So she, was a child could have been aborted in 1961. Now, abortions weren't really common in 1961, but I look at it from the child's perspective, and that's what I try to focus on when it comes to that, as opposed to all the other stuff that goes on around the abortion issue. It's probably one of the most divisive issues that we'll even addressed in the session, because everybody's so passionate about their side or the other side. But I see it I won't try to look at it from the child's perspective, because I was one of those children.
Representative, this debate has went on, raging in this Capitol. I mean, candidly, since Roe versus Wade was passed, however many years ago. End of the day, what's wrong with giving folks another chance to vote on this? I mean, I think when they left it to the states, it was going to be messy. I'm not sure Missourians are actually decided on where they are on this issue. What's the harm in letting them vote again?
I think the problem with Roe being overturned and some laws being left up to the states at all times is it is messy, and enough is never enough. We could say, okay, what's wrong with one more bite at the apple? But what if it gets rejected again?
I like where you're at. What do you think?
I think it fails. 2026 can be a tough midterm.
I think that might be, I do think that might be the overarching factor people aren't taking into account. Lots of Republicans were pessimistic about this election cycle, and then Trump, he just knows how to win. He's a winner.
Well, Scott, to the point of Representative Kimble, in our county, the turnout will probably be 20 to 25% in the primary, and maybe 35%. Well, I was a former clerk, so I looked at those numbers. And if you get those people out there that say, we already voted on this, and they get out in mass, it could be defeated. If you have a big groundswell of the pro-life people that get behind it, again, the messaging, then I think it passes. That's what I'm saying. It's going to depend upon the voter turnout more than anything else.
I forget that pro-life united. Let's talk about another thing. We talk about ballot issues all the time. Prop A, passed by the voters by a large margin, raised the minimum wage, but it also did a whole bunch of other things, paid time off, a lot of other things that have been kind of hard for some businesses to acclimate to. There's a move in the state Senate. They went until 1 a.m. trying to figure out a way to roll back some of those provisions. Didn't get it done. Give me your take on it.
I mean, it sounds like they're going to keep going on it. I mean, this passed more than the Amendment 3. It was almost close to 60%. This is tougher to overturn. It hasn't even been implemented yet. We're trying to get an emergency clause. I mean, there's all kinds of moving parts. I think folks across the state, this one in, I think, 6 out of the 8 congressional districts, this is a very, very bipartisan issue, Republican, Democrat, Independent. People wanted this.
do the people want this, or do they vote for every single minimum wage increase ever?
No, actually, I saw polling during the election cycle that what they were really moved by was the paid sick leave. That people think that that's something that they deserve to have. That it's something that's ultimately good for business. I remember some of the arguments on the floor during the House debate were surrounding concerns about public health, with people having access to paid sick leave. People are more likely to go to work sick if they do not have paid sick leave. So I think that this is once again.
Now, wait a minute, hold on. Are these not two separate issues, just like you were talking about the people across the street,
No.
the Supreme Court? It's all one issue here.
So, number one, like you just said, that the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of what?
All of them. Put it
Yeah,
all together. You can put the whole
absolutely.
encyclopedia in a ballot initiative. I think it'd be fine now.
Yeah, well, I think that both of these issues are clearly to do with employment, and I think that you could argue that the other ones are not.
What do you think? I mean, I think a lot of the business community makes some sense here about rolling back or streamlining some of these really complicated things that Prop A did.
Sure. You talk about a ballot initiative that has two subjects. This definitely
Or
had
8.
two subjects or more. And the fact is, I set aside the minimum wage increase. I understand the reasoning behind that. But this paid vacation for workers is going to destroy small business. I come from Branson, Missouri. It's going to harm small business owners and even the big businesses. If you have 100 employees, say you're in a Branson theater, you have 100 employees, and you have to give everyone in there a week's paid vacation called sick time, you're going to have to fire 2 or 3 people to pay for everybody else. This is going to harm Missouri's economy. This is going to harm business. And we need to separate the issues. And I think the Senate's going to do that.
Are we seriously calling paid sick leave paid vacation?
There are businesses that have paid sick leave built in. If you want to work at a place that gives you that opportunity, that gives you that
Sharpen
benefit,
your skills.
work there. Small business
But you're
cannot afford
conflating
everyone.
Paid sick leave and paid vacation.
No, I'm not conflating. I'm calling it exactly what it is. It's a sunny day. You want to play golf. You're a barber. You don't sit in the barber chair cutting hair. You're playing golf. The business owner loses money.
You're not going to give us extra time for sick leave.
Bit of an elite
Nick,
story.
with a minute left, who won the week?
City of St. Louis, specifically my predecessor, Donna Behringer,
West side.
unseating an incumbent.
Very happy for Donna and happy for the city of St. Louis. She's a terrific public servant.
The voters of the state of Missouri who lived to see Prop A fight for another day.
Always on message. Who won the week?
I won the week.
I love it. I knew you were going to do it, and that's why I love having you on.
If you don't say you won the week, you didn't do your job.
I'll give you a compliment. You were very poised and composed during a very contentious, very personal and emotional debate. I never saw you lose your cool. You treated everyone with respect. I had a great regard for that. Who won the week?
Well, I'll just go with my gentleman across the right here from me, City of St. Louis. That was a great day, inauguration day, to get the new mayor. And, of course, one of our colleagues, Donna Behringer. How could you not love Donna Behringer? She served the last 2 years with me before she turned out, and she was one of the nicest ladies, nicest representatives and nicest women, ladies I've ever met since I've been
A
here.
decent successor in.
Yes.
We'll see. On 10.
Jury's out. I'm going to say Adam and everyone that Senate Appropriations staff, they had a lot of extra obstacles this year to work through as they put the budget together. Came through on time, as always. Those folks don't get enough credit. They do a great job. We hope we can give you some credit next week by joining us here on This Week in Missouri Politics. Happy Easter.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, the United Electric Cooperative, and the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts.